This is a 3-minute video about simplifying fractions by factorizing. Now, this is something that we are going to do in algebra. But first, let's look at a very simple example, just that you might know from primary school. If you're asked to simplify 6 over 4, what you would do is you would look and see, is there any highest common factor, a common factor between 6 and 4? And knowing your tables, you'd realize, well, 2 is the highest common factor between 6 and 4. So what you would do is you would write out 6 in terms of 2, because 6 is 2 3's. And we'd also write out 4 in terms of 2, because 4 is 2 2's. So we'd factorize both the numerator and the denominator. Now, since 2 is a common factor, 2 divides in above and below. So we can simplify 6 quarters as is the same thing as 3 over 2. Now, we use the very same technique in algebra. We would see, is there any common factors and can we factorize? So it asks us to simplify these fractions. So if you can simplify them, well, I suppose we assume that it can be done. You might notice at top 3 is the highest common factor of 3n minus 12. So we could write that as 3 bracket n minus 4. And that's divided by n minus 4. Now, since n minus 4 is both above and below the line, we could divides in and gives us 1. So we're left with just 3. Let's look at the second example. In the second example, you might notice that we have a quadratic above the line. Our numerator is a quadratic. So we're going to use quadratic factorization on this. Below the line, we have x minus 2. And run two big brackets. We want to factorize this quadratic. Below the line we have x minus 2, but we know already it's going to simplify, which means one of these quadratic factors we're expecting will be x minus 2. So I'm going to guess that this is the case. So I'm going to write in x minus 2 is one of the factors. I think it's a reasonable guess because it's the only way that it will simplify. So we're looking at the factors of 3x squared. And the factors of 3x squared would be 3x by x. So we're happy. That's the first part. We also look at the factors of minus 2. Now one of them is minus 2, and we know that minus 2 multiplied by what gives us minus 2? So that must be plus 1. So the missing factor here is plus 1. Now we want to check that this is true. The check is we multiply the first by the last position, and the two inside positions. 3x by minus 2 is minus 6x, plus 1 by x is plus 1x. And when we add these, we get minus 5x. Now this is what we wanted. So we have the same as the middle term, so it's true that these are the factors. So now we can just, since x minus 2 is common factor above and below, it cancels out, equals 1. So we're left with 3x plus 1. And that's the simplified version of the fraction.